vehicle in order to gain more horsepower and torque. But not just that, I'll demonstrate to you on this engine as to the why or the reasoning behind each mod, therefore you can understand the subject much better. Also, as different vehicles have different setups and are somewhat different, there's going to be a variance as to the different mods you can put on any vehicle. But I'll try to touch up on those as we go along. And in this video, we won't be talking about tires or any suspension parts like coilovers or maybe motor mounts or transmission mounts or anything like that. We will only talk about mods that will actually increase the horsepower and torque output of your engine. Those said mods do not do that. They simply make more efficient use of the horsepower and torque coming out of your engine. Alright, so if you have a naturally aspirated engine, the first thing you might want to look into is a cold air intake. Now, as I'm sure some of you are familiar with, the job of a cold air intake is to replace the original air filter box, and then with the help of the piping that comes with your cold air intake, take in air from further away from the engine, therefore take in cooler air. And as you know, cooler air is more dense, which means the oxygen molecules are closer together, and that means that you can take in more of them. And as you can take in more air, you can add more fuel and therefore create more power. Now, this is for a naturally aspirated engine. If you have an engine that's either turbocharged or supercharged, like my bi-turbo Audi there in the driveway, you might want to look into upgrading your intercooler. That's because on a supercharged engine, as your turbo compresses the air that's coming into your engine, that compression creates a lot of heat. Actually, a perfect example of this would be your AC compressor. If you want to try this on your own, go ahead and turn on your AC, and then with your AC compressor clutch engaged, go ahead and touch the AC line that's coming from your AC compressor and going to your AC condenser. You'll find that that line is really hot, and that's why you actually need that AC condenser to cool that compressed charge. Or in this case, you need an intercooler to cool down that compressed air. Especially since you really need to make that warm compressed air cooler, because as we talked about, cooler air is more dense, therefore it allows you to create more power that way. And actually, I can show you this on this Audi. So here's a look at our intercooler on the driver's side. Here's the piping that comes from our turbo to our intercooler. And then from our intercooler, it goes through some piping, which I've removed here, to our throttle body, and then from there to our intake manifold and then our engine. And since this is a bi-turbo engine, it has another one on the passenger side as well. So yeah, a cold air intake for a supercharged or a turbocharged engine is more or less going to be a waste of money. You should spend your money on an intercooler upgrade for better flow and also better cooling abilities. All right, next, you may want to look into a catback exhaust system. All right, so a catback exhaust upgrade is basically upgrading everything after your catalytic converter all the way down. All right, so for the sake of argument, let's say we're talking about this car. So here's a look at the exhaust manifold and the catalytic converter that comes attached to it that goes for this car. This sits in front of the car or the front of the engine like this. So if we were to get a catback exhaust setup for this car, we would replace the downpipe that goes from here all the way back, including our muffler. And actually, the muffler is the main component of this setup because the factory mufflers aren't made or optimized for the best flow. They're made to work as a muffler as in muffling the sound of the explosions coming from your engine. That's why after upgrading your muffler or your catback system, you hear that nice exhaust noise that we all like. Just not too loud though. I like it a little deeper. Not whiny, deeper. See folks, you gotta think of it this way. Just think of your engine as a big pump. See, as these pistons go down, they suck in air through your intake and through these intake ports into your combustion chambers. And as they go into your combustion chambers, they carry fuel with them from your fuel injectors. And then on the compression stroke, as the pistons come up, they compress that air-fuel mixture. Then your car's computer will ignite that air-fuel mixture through your spark plug. Pistons will go down on the power stroke. And then as the piston comes up on the exhaust stroke, your exhaust valve opens, obviously, and then the burnt air-fuel mixture comes out of your exhaust port of your cylinder head. So the better you can help your car's engine intake more air on the intake side and then push out more exhaust or the burnt air fuel mixture on the exhaust side, you can create more power and torque. And that's where this next mod comes in. Yes, if you get some aftermarket high performance camshafts for your car, those camshafts are going to allow more air to enter your engine and then more exhaust fumes exit out of your engine. You see it's all in the cam lobe right here. So if you were to replace the camshafts on this car with high performance camshafts, your newer camshafts would have a larger cam lobe right here. Not only the start or the duration of your valve lift would be wider, but also your maximum lift, which is the highest point of your cam lobe,
will be higher as well.
As some of you have mentioned, I should swap over the camshafts from the 2.8 liter naturally aspirated engine over to my bi-turbo engine, which has a 2.7 liter, for this very exact reason. And in fact, here's a look at the graph that should be on your screen right now, showing you the profile of the different camshafts for these Audi or Volkswagen made engines. As you can see, the intake valve for the 2.7 liter bi-turbo engine is a lot shorter. Actually, the lift is smaller than the intake valves for the camshafts for the 2.8 liter naturally aspirated engine. Also, another mod I'll include with this, which is a port and polish, which basically means porting out the intake and exhaust ports on your cylinder heads. So at the machine shop where you take these heads to be port and polished, they basically get little grinders inside of these ports. They grind them out a little bit, making it a little bit bigger, which helps greatly in the flow of air into your combustion chamber. And then after they port these out and make these a little bit bigger, they get in little polishers inside here and polish the surface to smooth it out. They obviously do this for both the intake and the exhaust ports. And after they smooth out the inside of these ports, air flows even easier into your combustion chamber, then from there out your combustion chamber as well. Now, lucky for me, the cylinder heads on the 2.8 liter naturally aspirated engine naturally have a bigger port for both the intake and the exhaust side, and they're fairly easy transferable to the 2.7 liter bi-turbo engine. However, unlucky for me, that engine has some valve damage and it has some compression issues in some of the cylinders, so those cylinder heads have to be rebuilt at some point. But that's definitely an upgrade I'm going to do in the future, so make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for that. Alright, so next up, if it's legal where you live, you might want to look into installing some high flow catalytic converters. So yeah, here's a look at the catalytic converter on this car, and as you can see, the catalyst for this catalytic converter is honeycomb shape, which is terrible for the flow of exhaust out of this engine. So if you were to upgrade your stock catalytic converters to high flow catalytic converters, those high flow catalytic converters obviously allow for a much easier pass of the burnt air fuel mixture out of your engine, creating much less back pressure inside your exhaust system, which results in your engine actually being able to suck in more air and increase its horsepower and torque output. And it goes without saying, if you're building a track car, you can simply remove the catalytic converter altogether and put a straight pipe down through. Alright, next, the single best mod you can make to your car is to simply get your electronic control module or electronic control unit tuned. Because out of the factory, your car's ECU is actually tuned to first pass emissions so that the manufacturer can sell cars, then to get the best MPG, and then for power, or in other words, horsepower and torque. So if you were to take your car in and get your ECU tuned, you basically are saying no to these two and moving this guy to the front of the line. So in layman's terms, when you get your car's ECU tuned, your car's ECU will put in the maximum amount of fuel that it can put in your combustion chamber to get the maximum amount of horsepower and torque out of your engine, and have no regard for emissions or what kind of MPG you're going to get out of that engine. So yes, if I had to pick one mod to make to my vehicle, it would be to get the ECU tuned or reprogrammed for maximum power. The gains from that in order of horsepower and torque is a lot higher than any gain you could get from these other mods. Now again, keep in mind all these mods were mods you could make to your engine to gain more horsepower and torque, but the other mods I mentioned in the beginning of this video also help a lot, because what good is horsepower and torque if, for example, you can't keep your tires on the ground? So yeah, upgrading your suspension parts is something that you should look into, but we'll save those mods for a separate video. With that said, gonna wrap this up. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, do me a favor and share and subscribe to my channel, and also check out these other related videos, of which I put links to on this side of the screen. There will also be links down below in the description box as well. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.